This episode of Aimlessly Wandering, I'm heading off to London, England with my dad.
Get your boarding passes ready and make sure your seatbelt is securely fastened. On this episode of Aimlessly Wandering, we're heading from Toronto to Jersey. Episode 18 starts now.
On this episode of Aimlessly Wandering, I'm heading off to London, England, thanks to my dad. He actually surprised me with this trip, and not only did he surprise me with the trip to London, but he also surprised me with first-class tickets across the pond in Air Canada Signature Class. So this will be the first time I've traveled internationally in first class, so I'm pretty stoked to see what the pod situation is like. So I was super grateful for that and super nice of my dad to do that.
Before our flight, we stopped off at the Maple Leaf Signature Lounge, and let me tell you, they had quite the spread. I started off with a little bit of pasta and came back for seconds with a mini slider, complete with burger sauce.
Now I'm just eating some snacks, getting a quick little bite at the Maple Leaf Signature Lounge at Toronto Pearson. So should be a fun trip. Let's see what happens.
After a couple of drinks and some bites, it was time to board our flight upon Air Canada 787-9 Dreamliner. I was sitting in seat 7K, and again, this was a lay-flat first-class seat, my first time traveling internationally first class. I perused the menu to see what champagnes and wines they had, and also got to know what was inside this Acquia de Parma little luxury kit. Inside of it was a nice comfy pair of socks to slip into. Then, a sleep mask, perfect for an overnight flight. Next up, a dental kit, because nobody wants bad breath after traveling so long. They also had a little lens cleaner, which I thought was helpful, especially with my cameras. And of course, you can't get a decent night's sleep without earplugs. Finally, a nice little bar of soap to make sure that I'm nice and clean.
56 going on to London Heathrow. At this time, I'd like to ask all of our passengers to please take your seat to stow all their cabin baggage. Enable us to leave Toronto as soon as possible.
And with that, it was time for takeoff. Shortly after takeoff, dinner was served. I started off with a nice salad, complete with bread, and then went on to the main course, which was a filet. Finally, for dessert, a nice little summertime treat, a tart treat. With that, it was time for some shut-eye. When I awoke, it was desperately time for some coffee. I only got about 4.5 hours of sleep, but the timing was perfect because as soon as I was awake, they were serving breakfast. As we got closer to London, I could start to see the English countryside, and I was already excited for what was about to come. We landed at Heathrow, my first time in the United Kingdom, but this was only a small little stop on our long day. We hit up the international UK border, which was surprisingly easy with the fact that we're Canadians. You basically just go through an automated gate with your passport. We picked up our bags and we're off to our next flight. Now to get there, we had to go from Terminal 4, international arrivals, to Terminal 5. And to do that, we took the Lizzie line, a free subway transfer between the two terminals. Terminal 5 is basically British Airways' home hub. It was a little bit of a trick navigating through it because it was so busy. But then once we cleared security, this is what we were greeted to. Now, once we cleared security, it didn't really feel like we were in an airport. In fact, it kind of felt like we were in a shopping mall. But it was definitely the busiest airport I've ever been to. After spending a little bit of time here, I was on my first ever British Airways flight, going from London to Jersey, which was about an hour, give or take. We approached Jersey and we could see the coastline. But landing and getting off a plane on a tarmac was certainly fun. We picked up our baggage and got our rental car and arrived in Jersey. So after traveling for about 18 hours, 2 different flights, 2 different airports, I have arrived in Jersey.
And this is where the Velpies come from. So while we're here, we'll be checking out our family lineage and learning more about Jersey. And not New Jersey, the Bailiwick of Jersey.
So that's going to do it for this episode. But stay tuned because our European summer series continues here on Aimlessly Wandering. We'll be checking out the island of Jersey, Liverpool, London, and St. Malo, France. So you'll want to be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and alert button because you never know where we're going to aimlessly wander off to next.